The penultimate stop on the ITU World Cup circuit took in Tongyeong, South Korea, as the venue hosted the final sprint distance race of the season. The previous 10 events here have been raced over the Olympic distance, but this time the large field of 74 athletes had a one-lap 750-metre non-wetsuit swim to negotiate. Calm conditions in the Tongyeong harbour formed the backdrop, as everyone was keen to try and gain an advantage with such a large field. Australia's Matthew Roberts claimed the early lead as he managed to stay out of trouble and was the first athlete back up the harbourside ramp and off to T1. Roberts was followed in by Germany's Maximilian Schwetz, Russians Vladimir Turbayevsky and Andrei Brukhankov, and the USA's Will Huffman. The Aussie, who won 2 Oceania Sprint Championships back-to-back in April, was soon off on the 3-lap 20-kilometre bike, with the rest of the field fairly close behind. There was soon a large lead group at the head of the field working well to keep up the pace. On the long downhill section, the chase group soon had the leaders in their sights, among them America's Matthew McElroy and Kevin McDowell, with about a 10-second gap to make up. The leaders reached the 180-degree turn at the furthest part of the course, but the chasers were closing fast. And before the end of the first lap had closed up to make a large 25-plus pack at the front. But the incline section appeared to be taking its toll on some, as several athletes started to fall back in proceedings. The leaders continued to take turns at the head of the pack, but weren't increasing their lead. The second chase group now became the chasers, and with Portugal's João Silva in their ranks, they too started to close the gap, as it looked like becoming a fascinating battle. As the race entered the long out and back stretch, the chase back had a visual on the leaders, and that would prove to be the spur they needed. By the time the race entered T2, the packs had come together, and it was a congested transition zone as the athletes prepared to set off on the 2-lap 5-kilometre run. A steady stream soon left T2, and it was a fast pace over the first 2.5 kilometres that would ultimately split the field. Even in the early stages of the race, the field was getting strung out around the harbour side, and by the end of lap 1, it was McElroy and McDowell that led a group of 11 into the final 2.5 kilometres. The two Americans were running well, but there was a strong Australian presence in the lead group as well. The 11 soon became 6 on the downhill section as the pace started to tell. It would now come down to who had enough left in the tank for a potential sprint finish. With 200 metres to go, there were still 6 in contention, and several made their move in a race that would go right to the wire. Spain's Ushio Abuin-Ares hit the front and showed a clean pair of heels to McElroy. It was still all to race for as they hit the finishing chute, but the Spaniard just had enough to cross the line in first and claim his first ITU World Cup victory. McElroy took his second silver of the season after finishing in the same position in Salinas, and Russia's Vladimir Turbayevsky took bronze in his first race since winning the ETU Alanya Final European Cup earlier this month.
I'm swimming very good, and then on the bike I've been keeping some strength, and then on the run I was feeling very comfy, and then I trusted on my last sprint, and finally I can win, and I'm so excited for him.
I think I could have gone out a little harder in the first lap, just because, I don't know, I have a running background, ran in college, and that's my strength. So when I came out of the swim, I knew right away I was in it, and again, I got second at Salinas 2 weeks ago. I got second. Just a couple mistakes on the run, leading into a sprint. When someone passes you, you kind of give up, and that's what happened today.
First lap, I try not too fast, and after first lap, I was in head of group, and then I try keep power. I understand there must be sprint finish, and I try keep power.